BeakerBeat.
It's Monday, December 12, 2011. In this week's BeakerBeat, some pharma giants continue their spending sprees in China. What they spent their billions on this time, coming up. Plus, Bayer's birth control pill is having some serious side effects to their bottom line. And how a life-saving medical device proves its value on the gridiron. All that and more in this week's edition of BeakerBeat, brought to you by Life Technologies. To learn more about Life Technologies, visit the company webpage on Beaker.com.
Hello everyone, welcome to this week's edition of BeakerBeat. I'm Mike Justice, thanks for tuning in. We're tailgating today at a Miami Dolphins game. We're throwing the ball around, we're drinking some beers out and eating some food. It's a lot of fun. We'll have more football stuff coming up, but first, here's this week's top story.
Pharma giant Merck will establish a new Asian R&D headquarters in Beijing and commit $1.5 billion to research and development in China over the next 5 years. The number 2 U.S. drug maker has mapped out 47,000 square meters of new lab and office space where it will eventually employ 600 workers. Those folks will handle everything from discovery through clinical development and regulatory projects for the company's global operations. The first phase should open in 2014. The R&D complex is part of Merck's ambitious plan to grow a major research operation in the country, which it sees as an important emerging market. 2 primary disease focuses will be cardiovascular disease and diabetes, both big growth markets in China and around the world. Now, Merck expects its relatively low-cost China R&D operations to tackle new drugs as well, which can be marketed globally. Merck is spending money to save money. Shifting research work to China helps eliminate some costly overhead, i.e. employees, in the U.S. and Europe, while giving the company a more prominent place in the Chinese pharma industry. Beijing is home to several of China's top universities as well as the country's food and drug regulator, whose approval is needed for medications to be sold in the country.
Good catch. Well, tell us what you think about this story or any story you see in today's show. Very simple. Click the orange button below me. A box will pop up. Type in your comments. Send it to me. I promise I'll read and respond to every one of them. Too bad it's not a Husker game.
And we're putting our money where our mouth is when we say we want to hear from you. We want you to send us a photo of you or you and your coworkers together while surfing Beaker.com or watching BeakerBeat. Just like this one by Jeremy, although you don't have to look that ridiculous. We're giving away 2 prizes at the end of the year for 2 categories. One for the most people in the photo, easy. Another for the most creative photo. What are the prizes, you ask? Is it a pony? No. A massage from Jeremy? Thank goodness no.
A new Porsche!
Hey, I'm not Bob Barker. Although I did spay and neuter my pets. Don't worry, it's a surprise, but it'll be worth it. So start snapping those pictures and send them to BeakerBeat at Beaker.com.
You know what? I want to go for a ride on that. Through the football game.
In an effort to boost sales of its birth control pill Yasmin, Bayer may have given birth to a big legal mess. Bloomberg reports the company allegedly covered up some data that showed a higher risk of blood clotting for those taking the contraceptive. Some court documents were recently unsealed, revealing allegations of a Bayer cover-up from ex-FDA Commissioner David Kessler. Kessler, who is expected to testify in upcoming patient lawsuits, stated Bayer withheld information and analysis showing an increase in blood clotting risk. Kessler also maintained Bayer held back data before Yasmin won agency approval in 2001, including details about clot risks from an internal study, plus 2 cases of clots in patients using the pill. As Bloomberg notes, the court documents were unsealed too late to make the FDA's deadline for materials for last week's advisory committee meeting. The agency wouldn't comment on the documents, nor would Bayer, whose spokeswoman said the company doesn't comment on outstanding litigation.
The kind of ugly people that you find at a tailgating party.
AstraZeneca will cut its U.S. sales operation by 24%, or 1,150 jobs. The cuts include reps and managers and come on top of 400 U.S. job losses announced in October. Workers will have the chance to volunteer to leave, with all decisions wrapped up by February. Also, the company announced the deal to buy Chinese generics maker Guangdong Beikang Pharma. It's AstraZeneca's second outright acquisition of a generics company and its latest expansion move in China, where it's already the second biggest foreign pharma. The company recently said it would sink $200 million into a manufacturing facility there. Pfizer's earned a unanimous endorsement from an FDA expert panel following a review of its advanced kidney cancer drug. The experts concluded that the drug's benefits justified the risks it posed to patients, setting it on a path to a likely approval. Pfizer predicts more than $500 million a year from the drug if it goes on to an approval, money it could use following the loss of the Lipitor franchise. The FDA is reviewing reports of serious bleeding in patients using Boehringer Ingelheim's blood thinner Pradaxa, a recently approved alternative to the anticoagulant warfarin. The FDA's safety review comes on the heels of a warning from European regulators issued in November, which cited 256 cases of fatal bleeding. Japan's Takeda Pharma announced plans to launch a vaccine development business unit in 2012. The new unit will take on development of Takeda's pediatric vaccines, as well as in-license new products and technologies. Thinking globally, the company plans to leverage infrastructure gained by its $13 billion buyout of Nycomed to access Europe and emerging markets. EU Health Chief John Dalli has proposed a measure that would allow the European Commission to bargain with Big Pharma to procure vaccines for its member states in future flu pandemics. The proposal is part of a larger plan to improve the EU's response to health issues. A majority of EU governments must approve the measure for the proposal to become law. The FDA has granted Agamatrix 510K clearance for IBG Star, or Agamatrix Nugget, which is billed as the first glucose meter available on iPhones. Sanofi, which started marketing the device in Europe this year, plans to do so in the U.S. as well.
Grilled meat.
The UK is investing big money in the life sciences industry. Prime Minister David Cameron's government has announced several new initiatives, including $566 million in new funding for biomedical research.
My ride is here.
Finally, while on the topic of football, there's a growing push to include a life-saving medical device on the playing fields of high schools and other institutions. No doubt you've heard stories of young people dying while practicing or playing a game. Well, having a resuscitation device on hand can indeed make a difference. One example, football coaches at Breaux Bridge High School in Louisiana combined CPR and a Zoll AED device to save the life of a freshman football player earlier this year. The defibrillator they used was donated as part of an initiative to place AEDs in every school in Louisiana, Mississippi, and West Tennessee. Zoll offers the units at a discounted price, and to date, over 330 AEDs are in use, and at least 6 lives have been saved. Now, the idea has also taken hold across the pond, where they play soccer, although they call it football. That doesn't make any sense. They don't play on a massive rectangular field. Players don't wear pads, can't use their hands, or make tackles. And I'm sure they don't have all the drama and crying during games. It's totally different. Anyway, a campaign has been launched to provide defibrillators at all local soccer, football, whatever, grounds following several incidents, including one with a teenager who collapsed during a game and was saved thanks to quick attention from a doctor who used a defibrillator on hand. Well, no matter what kind of football you play, having a defibrillator on hand is a good idea.
Well, it's the end of the show, and it's also time to go in and watch the game. That's it for this week's edition of BeakerBeat. I'm Mike Justice. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week. They sell beer in there. You think?
Sit, Beaker. Sit. Good dog.
Well, look at the thing blow around.
It's windy.
It is windy.
Can you
Imagine trying to drive that thing today?